Hello, good evening, and welcome to Saturday Sport Classified. It's sport all the way for the next almost 3 hours. We've got live coverage of the FC Isle of Man coming your way, kicking off at 6 o'clock this evening. But before that, a roundup of all the rugby, hockey and football results on the island today. Before we look at what happened, let's get some results first of all, starting with the Canada Life Men's Premier League. And Douglas Royal 5, Ayr United 6, Laxey 8, Braddon 1, Moran 2, St Mary's 3, Peel 5, St John's 1, Ramsey against St George's postponed but awarded as a home win. And Union Mills 1, Corinthians 8. DPS Limited Division 2, Douglas and District 1, Colby 4. Douglas High School Old Boys 0, Governors Athletic 2. Gyms 1, Foxdale 10. Onchan 1, Castletown 2. And Paul Rose 2, Michael United 7. Canada Life Combination 1, Corinthians 3, Union Mills 5, Braddon 4, Laxey 7, St Mary's 6, Moran 1, and Ayr versus Douglas Royal is a late result. On to DPS Limited Combination 2. The game between Foxdale and Gyms was postponed. Colby 4, Douglas and District 0. And Castletown 2, Onchan 5, and waiting on results for Douglas Athletic against Maloo and Governors Athletic against Douglas High School Old Boys. Going on to hockey, and in the Mixed Premier League, Backers 9, Ramsey 1, Harlequins 1, Vikings 8, Backers B 1, Valkyries 3, Castletown Celts 6, Vikings B 2. Mixed Division 1, Castletown Southerners 4, Castletown Comags 1, Valkyries C 6, Backers C 6. And Vikings C against Valkyries B is a late result. Mixed Division 2, Vikings D 4, Castletown Cushags 0, Ramsey Ravens 7, Vikings E 0, Backers Colts 3, Valkyries D 2. Mixed Division 3, Castletown Cosney 2, Castletown Carrick 1, Harlequins C 1, Backers D 1, Harlequins B 4, Ramsey Rookies 0. And in the Mixed Under-15s League, Backers A 3, Valkyries 1. And late results for Backers B against Harlequins and Castletown Sabres against Castletown Sharks. And finally, Ramsey Rogues 4, and Rascals 4-3. I've just had a late result coming through for the Maloo game, and that ended up as Douglas Athletic 3, Maloo 5. And we will bring you the rugby results in around half an hour's time. But as ever, we'll say, and Ben Cunningham will also be here as well looking at today's hockey. But first of all, we'll say good evening to Tony Mepham. And we know, obviously, that the World Cup in rugby is on at the moment, but some of the scores we're seeing here today might be pretty similar to what we'd expect at the World Cup. Plenty of goals going in. And I suppose, would we start with St Mary's and a very tight victory away at Moran?
Yeah, you can do, and Moran, by all accounts, had a good performance today, so well done to them, and tight at half-time, 1-1, Dave, but Nathan Halsall on the score sheet once again, probably a left peg. Joe Burquist got one and Adam Adebayi got the other one, but it was Michael Webber and Carl Hartman who got a goal apiece for Moran. I think they were the two goal scorers for last week as well for Moran. So, yeah, tight game, but important thing for St Mary's to keep this winning run going, and they're on 13 points now, still top of the league.
And they'll keep their position at the top, of course. But breathing down their necks, former champions from a couple of seasons ago, Ayr United, who got the better of Douglas Royal in an 11-goal thriller.
Yeah, and I'm just waiting for the Ayres scorers to come through. If you can text us through, please, 166 177. But I do have Douglas Royal's goal scorers. Thanks, Fitzy, for that. And it was Dominic McCarry-Brennan who got one. Andy Asbridge got a couple of goals, and I'll try and find out who got the other ones. But certainly a cracking game by all accounts. And Douglas Royal will be delighted to get 5 goals. Okay, defensively, they've let 6 in, but you look at it, 1-0 against one of the top sides in that league after the performance last week against St Mary's. They'll take a massive lift from this one, and unfortunately for them, they have lost out. And United keep the pressure on the top of the table.
Is it more disappointing, do you think, Tony, to lose? Because obviously, looking at Douglas Royal, they've picked up 1 point all this season, and I think Ayr United, they've won every game so far. Am I right? So, I know it's early days, but
Ayr United have played 4. They skipped the first game of the season due to free week, but yeah, definitely they're looking strong. And when you look at the team that they've got out there, having Sean Kelly back in there has helped things. And Danny Oram, I don't think he played today. He wasn't down to play, but a hat-trick for him last week. It's all gelling quite nice there for manager Nick Hurt.
I suppose losing 6-5, especially when you score 5 and you still lose, is just like losing 11-0. When you look at before the game, the position of these two, top and bottom of the table.
Yeah, and I've got a little bit of a report in here from Douglas Royal, and the other 2 goal scorers were Adam Payton, James Clark, but not sure I'm meant to enjoy a game we lose, but that was reliable, enjoyable. Both teams played really well, and the officials were excellent, all 3 of them. So that's always nice to have something like that. But I think Michael Fitzmaurice, the manager, was really down last week because they didn't really have too many chances. And when you look at one of them, I think he's can be a massive star in Manx football, is Dominic McCarry-Brennan. I think he's a really good player, goal scorer, but at the moment they go through it, don't they, where they don't score goals. And Andy Asbridge as well is a great partner alongside him, and they'll take a lot from that. And I don't think Douglas Royal will get involved in relegation at the end of the season, because that showed today, just losing out to the side that is second in the league.
We've got obviously a lot of games to look to, but just to put a point, you have to play to the conditions on a day like this, surely?
Yeah, and there's a couple of reports that have come in, Dave, and it's been a bit rough today, but the important thing is that no games were started and didn't finish. I was up at the stadium, and credit to the ground staff there, Onken, who have worked well. The grass was a little bit long, and I can see why they did it, because it just helps with, sort of cutting up and stuff. Foxdale had no choice. They looked at it, it was a bit iffy. They weren't 100% sure, but with the weather forecast that was coming in, they thought, we're not going to take a chance. Credit to all the ground staff out there. There's a lot of people out there put tireless hours in.
I was going to say that because on my way in, there was a lot of standing water on the roads. So the fact that, a few years ago, we probably would have been sat here talking about 2 or 3 games going ahead and the rest all being postponed. So, a massive pat on the back for all the clubs involved in making sure that the majority of the games went ahead.
Definitely, and just got the goal scorers coming in. Thanks, Jamie, for Ayr United, and Jamie scored 1 himself. Jamie Callister, Chris Duggan, another 2 goals for him. Sean Kelly got 2, and an own goals. Yeah, but massive pats on the back, because I'm not picking on Ben next to me, but they have the glorious 3G pitches and artificial surface that they can play on. So they've always got that to come by. But football, it can get a little bit muddy at times, and let's just hope that no pitches have got caught up too bad where it's not going to be ready for next week.
It's funny, that very thought crossed my mind on the way, and I was just thinking about the hockey that back in the day we wouldn't have had any hockey today, but anyway, that's the way it goes. And hockey, it's a different sport to football.
Credit to our facilities.
Brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Also in the hunt early on for the title, Corinthians with an 8-1 spanking, and I don't use that word lightly, of Union Mills.
Well, when you look at the league table, Union Mills was 6th, Corinthians were 4th. This was at lunchtime. Corinthians had played 4 for 7, and Union Mills had played 4 for 6. So it was expected to be a close battle, and our old mate Rob Pritchard has put a match report together. Thanks, Rob. And it was final score was Union Mills 1, Corinthians 8, 5-1 to Corinthians at half-time. Corinthians goal scorers were Dan Simpson, a second hat-trick in 2 weeks for him with 3. Danny Gerrard got 2. Connor Clark, well done Connor, only 16 years of age. Joe Marquez got 1, and Phil Kelly. Union Mills scorer was Luke Booth. Even game, opening 20 minutes before 6 goals in the space of 15 minutes. 2 from Danny Gerrard, and Dan Simpson first put Corinthians 3-0 up before Booth got 1 for Union Mills from the restart. Simpson then got his second and Corinthians' fourth straight after Booth scored, before Connor Clark, 16 years of age, scored from close range just before half-time. Marquez headed home from a Gerrard cross with 10 minutes gone in the second half before 2 goals in the last 10 minutes from Phil Kelly and Dan Simpson, who got his hat-trick. Scoreline doesn't necessarily do Union Mills justice, who played well in spells, and had it not been for some brilliant saves by Corinthians goalkeeper Adam Killier, the outcome may have been different, but Gerrard and Simpson ran the show.
This Corinthians team, Tony, they were champions a couple of years ago. How does this one compare? Is it pretty much the same kind of setup?
It's very young, Dave, very, very young indeed. But you know, when you look at Chester Bell last week, 16 years of age, a hat-trick for him. And, you know, the guys going to FC Isle of Man and, you know, Ryan Gartland going to Laxey this year has just opened the door a little bit. A couple of university boys have gone as well, Ashton Canson and also Joe Middleton. And they're going well. João Marquez now has been there for quite a while, and it just didn't quite happen for him. But this year, he just seems to have gone for it. And Danny Gerrard, he's still a young lad himself, but he's just taking the responsibility in that midfield to work hard, and he's feeding it to the players who can play. Dan Simpson, I think Corinthians will lose him very shortly. Mm-hmm. He's one of the best players in the Isle of Man, and I'm just delighted that he's back playing football again. Phil Kelly as well, FC Isle of Man player. He is a really strong centre-back or right-back, and Connor Clark's another that's come through the process at Corinthians. They're looking good. Ben Qualtro's doing a terrific job with them. Steve Burns, Ed Walter as well. But they know there's a lot of tough games coming up. There's a lot of good sides in this league. But to beat one of the top sides like that convincingly 8-1 and got 8 goals last week, that's a good statement, I think.
Also playing a strong hand early in the title race are Laxey, and they played a very strong hand today. They were also handing out the spankings, giving Braddon an 8-1 doing over.
Yeah, and that's Braddon conceded 8 goals in 2 weeks now, in 2 games, and Noah Voles got the one for Braddon. But for Laxey, it was Canon Avery got 1, George Burrows got a goal, Joe Walters in the side today, he got a couple of goals. I've got Cruchy, I'm not too sure the Christian name, he got a couple of goals, and Greg Kelly. These are the stories I like. 16 years of age, debut game for the first team for Laxey, good side, and scored 2 goals as well. So well done, Greg. Delighted for you. Well done to Laxey. And Laxey keep the pressure on St Mary's and United at the top of the table.
However, you did touch on a point before as well. I mean, suddenly you get these results coming in now, and there are so many we forget sometimes. As I say, you mentioned a 16-year-old there. In a couple of years' time, 18, could well be off to university. And again, I think the Isle of Man football, like the Canada Life Premier League and the DPS divisions as well, they do lose quite a few players to university because they've all gone off to university in the last week or so. It must kind of be, I mean, you've just got to suck it, but, you know, it must have a big impact on their local football.
Yeah, it does have an impact, but it doesn't matter because the most important thing, Dave, you can play football till you're about 30, fine, and then go on to Masters. Education is paramount.
Exactly, yeah, but I'm just...
Paramount.
I'm not saying that, but I'm just, you know, the fact that the clubs, they know this, it's a fact of life, but you have to deal with it. And again, you've got some very good players perhaps for the first couple of weeks of the season, and then bang, they're gone.
They are, but you have to accept that. And I think there's more pressure, Dave, on the managers when the players come back at Christmas or at half term or whatever. What do you do? And I remember we did it at Corinthians a long time ago, Chrissy Cannell, and we just said, what do we do? And the players collectively just said, you pick your best team. Mm-hmm. You pick your best team, and that's it. And they accepted that, but it can cause a little bit of unrest with one or two players. But
especially when you've paid your subs for the season, you know, and then someone, obviously they're not going to pay subs if they're off to university or whatever, but I'm sure there must be some system where they come back and they have to pay to play. There must be.
Well, there is. You just, it is what it is. You just pay what's necessary. But it's quite interesting, Dave. I had a conversation with someone last night, and I got a little bit annoyed, to be honest with you, because basically the person was saying that you know, the rules that are put in the FA are totally wrong. Well, the rules that are put in are standard code of rules and what's been put in by the clubs. So he's totally wrong. and he just said that you should be allowed to use common sense at the FA if something doesn't look right. And I said, well, we're not allowed to use common sense. We have to use the rules. Mm-hmm. So that's what we did. And he said, no wonders football's dying with things like this. And I said, no, football's dying, possibly my view, people like him who don't really understand the rules. Football isn't dying. You look at this, Dave. I think the last 2 years, there's so many good young players coming through. That football is certainly not dying, but what there are some people out there who are just hell-bent on damaging it. Football is absolutely flying. Mm-hmm. The junior setup, under 16s, has probably got more numbers than it's ever had. Senior level numbers are strong. Yes, one or two sides might be struggling, but the FA will try and help, but that's up to the clubs to sell it. And Ben, please come into it if you want to. I'm sure the hockey numbers are up as well. So it's got to be a win-win situation across the board for all sports, netball, whatever you want to do. People now seem to be sort of since COVID picking up the baton to do sports, and you know I think the numbers are strong. Would you say so, Ben?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can echo the same for you, Tony. Like our junior numbers, the Sunday leagues, the junior leagues is absolutely incredible at the minute. The amount of teams you've got, A, B, C, D teams, and our senior numbers are looking brilliant as well.
What do you think it is, Ben? What has suddenly happened, hasn't it, over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few players that I've noticed that have come back from uni and are back on the island now, and they're staying on the island. But then there's obviously the few that go across, and then they find something like a job across, and then they stay across, and that's when we sadly lose them. But, you know, they still come back and, you know, pay a visit, but...
Yeah, you can't rely on that, though,
No,
Ben.
exactly, you can't rely on it. But, yeah, no, I agree with what Tony's saying.
There you go, Dave, and it is. It annoys me. I was getting frustrated last night, and I had to apologise for getting a little bit hot under the collar. I'm very passionate about football, and in any sports, I just want them all to do well. And I think at the moment, sport across the island is really strong. Mm-hmm. Credit has to go to government for facilities that they're giving us, but also the governing bodies of those sports, Dave. They've got the bit between the teeth, and they're making the numbers grow.
But you have to keep your hand on the tiller, don't you?
You do, and that's the difficult thing is because if you take your eye off the ball, it can disappear very quickly, and also you've just got to make sure that you're progressing and making the sport as strong as it can be, but don't cross that line where you're starting to take sort of chances. Sponsorship at the moment is a massive battle.
It always has been, but more so than ever, yeah.
Yeah, it is. We're blessed in football with some absolute tremendous sponsors, mm-hmm. but there are always competitions in any sport behind the scenes, and again I keep thinking that it should be a portfolio done of sports that are looking for some sponsors, and someone might just say, you know, yeah, I'll dip in here and I'll try and help them, because you know, facility hire is costing more money, buying kits is costing more money, electricity bills, I'm looking at Bala Fletcher, the electricity bills probably gone up 35%, 40%. It's an awful lot for the clubs to take on.
I'm going to mention something else here now. I'm going to take this off. I apologise to anyone listening and waiting to hear about their teams and everything, but I mean, we see what goes on across the water, and we saw events in London this week, and I suppose it proves the role. I mean, we hear all these. I'm talking about the poor girl, the 15-year-old girl, and you hear all the stories that go on, and they're saying, the sports clubs, there's no community clubs, there's no anything. Yet, I know we are very different to cosmopolitan London, but we need these sports clubs in places, and all the other youth clubs and community clubs as well, to keep that off our streets here in the island. I know it sounds a bit over the top, but, you know, they definitely must play a part.
Well, it does, and, you know, Ben can come in. I look at it with football that we offer the opportunity for younger people. Junior League are brilliant over here on the Isle of Man. We give the younger players the opportunity to do something that they want to do, the sport that they participate in. Yes, they have to pay subs, but clubs have bills. But they're there to just try and, you know, give them direction, you know, younger players. And I think it's changing a little bit. This is why we've got so many good young players. If you look at the Lincoln group, I don't know the team, it might be under 18s or whatever. There's 3 Ireland players playing in there, and I'm looking at hockey as well, how many times they're going away and where the hockey players are going now in England.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're going right through the England hockey ranks now. And
in what way?
Like
teams, individuals.
Yeah. I mean, let's take Sienna Dunn for an example.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's now captaining the under 18, under 21s teams
for England.
England,
mm-hmm.
Someone from the Isle of Man.
Mm-hmm. But just on that, and as I say, obviously, I know I'm kind of being a bit dramatic, but the fact that how important the sporting clubs are for the island's communities, for the youngsters, etc., to give them something to do, something to concentrate, and something to aim for, and something to achieve in.
Massive. I mean, the way I looked at it when I was in school, it was my time away from schoolwork to come and, enjoy having, with my mates, have a good laugh and enjoy a good game. And I mean, obviously now I'm working now, but I see that's still the same,
But the point I'm making is the community gets back, what the community puts in. So you're talking about sponsors, Tony, like that. But so if people that can help with sport can help finance and can help fund things and then it makes the island a better place, regardless of whether your business is going to pick up sales by 1% or whatever. As I say, it's all about the island as a community.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's hard to judge what you get out of the sponsorship, and it's just something that's either in a director's head or it's in a company. When I look at sort of ours, two main ones have been with us for a long, long time. Canada Life have been unbelievable, and they've switched around from sponsoring the Island team to the league or whatever. Jacksons are in there now, and they're sponsoring the junior league. It's all important. And then the other ones that filter down, the DPS, and now we've just got new sponsors that will be released in the next week for the Hospital Cup. It all ticks the box. It all helps us to progress.
But there has to be a sense of satisfaction from these getting involved, that
Definitely.
they're helping, that it's more than just their brand. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, definitely. And when you look at ours, is with the football, the clubs have to find their sponsors as well to pay. And even if you don't own your own pitch, you pay your rental, or you've still got your kits to pay. If you own or not necessarily own your own pitch, but lease it, like say Bala Fletcher, it's owned by government, but we lease it and we run it, and it's costing an absolute fortune. And we spend more time now looking at increases in bills and stuff. And this is where it's so valuable, Dave. You're involved in motorcycling, and that's on the other end of the spectrum. We're scratching around for a few thousand, and you're scratching around for a few hundred.
Yeah. So anyway, right. Let's just kick the soapboxes to one side for one moment.
Yeah,
thanks
good,
for coming in, Ben. Okay, and we'll come back to Ben. Will still be here to do the hockey, but we're still in the Canada Life Men's Premier League. And just a quick word, very briefly, about Laxey. Too early to say they are title contenders, or are they just as good as Corinthians, Ayr, and St Mary's?
I think they were the favourites right at the start, Dave. I think everyone was picking
among the favourites or the favourites.
The favourite, I
really?
think. Yeah,
wow.
The favourite. I still stand by it. I know they've dropped points, but when I look at the team there, they were missing a lot of players today. And they've still got an 8-1 result. Absolutely incredible. Johnny Palmer's got a band of top players down there. But I think there's one or two sort of stepping up. We always thought Ayr would be in it, Peel as well. But Ramsey were always a good bet. Corinthians, I think, are punching way above their weight, so credit to them. And when you look at St Mary's, what a story that is. 2 years ago, there wasn't a club, and here they are, top of the Premier League.
Brilliant. Let's, again, you just mentioned Ramsey. They didn't play today, though they do get a home win. Again, 100% record, games in hand. And they, again, 20 seconds. Ramsey, as good a chance as anyone of winning the title?
Definitely. Good players there. But again, today, they lost a couple of players to FC Isle of Man. That can't help. And St George's, it's just a shame today. It was just too many players missing, but they'll be back in next week.
We'll leave arguably the biggest game to last, because it's the Western Derby. It doesn't get much bigger for both Peel and St John's, local rivals, and this time Peel coming out on top, and that leaves St John's rooted to the bottom of the table. Yeah,
it does, and St John's will be disappointed because they've got some players back in there. I don't know if Dean Lees played today, but Callum Taggart certainly did, and he scored from the penalty spot. But you're talking about good young players coming through. Thomas Brown, he's a speed machine, and I think it's just up to Dan Bell and Mark Kelly to get the best out of him, because I still think they'll learn him where to play him, whether through centre forward or down that left hand side. I don't think personally myself, he can play right-hand side wing. They don't need him there anyway, but there's good experience around there. And today it was Lee Gale who got one from the penalty spot, Taylor Andrews. And it's funny, I was thinking at lunchtime, what's the missing piece at the moment for Peel? And I was talking to Paul Moran, and Paul Whitehead is the man for me. He's Man Mountain. He's so strong, so fit, so good in the air, so good on the deck, but he seems to be missing a few games here and there. But with him in the team, it does add a lot more, and that's a cracking result, that, for Peel, and puts back some sort of steadiness.
That keeps them on the edge of the title race, because
it does.
Because St Mary's and Ayr are going to take points off each other. Laxey is going to take points. They're all going to take points off one another. So Peel, I say early days. We're only still in September. But we can't write any of those off. But this stage of the season, Tony, it looks like it's a 6-horse race.
It does, and the thing is as well, we start now talking about the Railway Cup, because it's 12 games off halfway stage of the season.
And that's the top 4 teams, isn't it?
Top 4 teams.
At the halfway point.
Yeah, and we're going to try our hardest this year to get it on Boxing Day. Hopefully the weather doesn't cave in, but that's a massive competition for the halfway stage of the season. All
right, let's move on then to DPS Limited Division 2. We've got to start with the big game of the day, and it could have swung either way, really. But in the end, it was a 2-1 win for Castletown away at Onchan.
Yeah, and the first half was a little bit scruffy, but Onchan took the lead. Connor Dawson it was, who hit it really well, left-hand side he was, and hit it past the goalkeeper. And you thought, right, okay, this is good for them. And then it was a penalty awarded in the 2 minutes after Onchan had taken the lead, and it was Alex Crawley who took that one away. And then the game just seemed to fizzle out. But the second half we expected a little bit better, and we got it, because it was a real good battle. Both teams to and fro-ing. Unfortunately for Onchan, Connor Dawson, the goalkeeper, a little bit of concussion, so he had to go to hospital, so they had to change things around. James Carouche went in, and he did a really good job in sticks, and unfortunately he got injured in the last 5 minutes of the game, and it was just had to change things over again. And unfortunately they conceded that goal 2 minutes from the end. Harry Hinks it was who got it, and Castletown absolutely buzzing after that. Castletown 2, Onchan 1.
And that's a big dent in Onchan's promotion hopes.
Well, it is, and when you
start of the season, we're going, Onchan to come straight back up.
Yeah, and when you look at Adam McCulloch, he scored 4 goals in the first game, and then today he ended up in goal, and he pulled off a good save, but couldn't do nothing about it when the ball came down and scored it. Yeah, it is a dint, but that Division 2 is tight around there. You've got Michael battling away, Foxdale, good result today. You've got Colby, who are absolutely flying. So
that's right.
No, there's no panic.
No. You mentioned the Carouche. Just to mention the Carouche you mentioned, the Laxey, apparently 16-year-old Adam Carouche. Another 16-year-old. Yeah. Anyway, so let's go to the league leaders. Foxdale, a double spanking, really. I mentioned spankings before. They put 10 past Gyms.
Yeah, and it was Harry Wilson who got the goal for Gyms, but for Foxdale, Ricky Newsom got 1. Jason Chalmer got a couple. Delighted to see this man back playing. Jay Chatwood, he's become a dad and taken a bit of time out, but I think he's had enough of the pram and decided Saturday afternoons are for football. So a good hat-trick for him. Kevin Pullman matched him as well. He got 3. Matty Moffat and an own goal. Cracking result for Foxdale, and keeps them in touch at the top of DPS Limited Division 2.
And you mentioned Colby. They were 4-1 winners away at Douglas and District.
Good result for them, 3-1 at half time. So D&D better in the second half. Richie Radcliffe got the goal for D&D. But for Colby, it was Paul Whitley. It was Jordan Edge got 1. It was Carl Hickey got a goal. And I can't... Johnny Croft it was, who got the other one. Johnny coming back to play football for Colby this season. And that makes now Colby played 5 with 15 points. And the big boys, the big games are coming up very shortly. So... we'll find out, see how strong they are.
And Michael United putting 7 past Paul Rose in a 9-goaler. Paul Rose remained rooted to the bottom of the league.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be interesting to see where the Silver Boot goes this season, because now that Jay Chatwood's back in there, 3 goals for him today. But the man who was being tipped to win it, he got 5 last week, Liam Kane. Well, he got 4 today for Michael. Dylan Parrish got 2. Tomo Burnett got the other one. John Paul Joyce got 2 goals for Pulley, both from the penalty spot.
We'll go to Rob Pritchard very shortly for some team news, but I've left this one till last because it's been a rotten time of late to be involved with Governors Athletic, but today it all came good, and this is what you go training for in the week. This is why you have your end of season dinners, etc., and why you go out on a Saturday afternoon in the pouring rain and win 2-0 at Douglas High School Old Boys. Well done, Governors Athletic.
Yeah, cracking result that. When you look at Old Boys, in all sorts of problems, aren't they? Bottom of DPS Limited Division 2, played 4 games now with no points, 11th position, and it was great performance by Governors Athletic. Have you got any goal scorers?
I haven't, no.
No, I haven't got them. That's one thing about them. They need to get the goal scorers in, but okay, they've won it. Big result that against a team that was relegated, 2-0.
Yep, okay. Our live game tonight on AM 1368 involves FC Isle of Man. Our commentator Rob Pritchard will be with us. In fact, he's going to be with us now, hopefully, with some team news from the bowl. Good evening, Rob.
Good evening, Dave, and good evening to the listeners on Saturday Sport Classified on Manx Radio DAB and AM 1368. You're quite right, we are here at a wet and blustery and bleak evening at the Bowl as we prepare for FC Isle of Man's return after 3 weeks on the road to the Bowl in the league, facing the newly promoted and high-flying Wythenshawe FC with kick-off at 6pm. We do have some team news to bring you, so we'll bring you that right now. We'll start with the home side, FC Isle of Man, managed by Paul Jones. In goal, it's number 1, Ben Wilkinson, then it's number 2, Owen Sherrod, number 3, Jacob Crook, number 4, Kyle Watson, number 5, Ryan Burns, number 6, Callum Sherry, number 7, Tiernan Garvey, number 8, and the captain, Frank Jones, number 9, Sean Doyle, number 10, Dean Pennington, and number 14 is Jack McVeigh. The substitutes for FC Isle of Man, number 11, Steve Whitley, number 12, Charlie Higgins, number 15, Jamie Corlett, number 16, Michael Williams, and number 17 is Joe Quayle. And for the visitors, Wythenshawe FC, managed by Shane Goldrick. In goal, it's number 1, Maxwell Povey, and then it's number 2 in the captain, Christopher Howard, number 3, Adam Owen, number 4, Ryan Shenton, number 5, Fraser Goodwin, number 6, Paul Riley, number 7, Samuel Dickov, number 8, Joel Aikenhead, number 9, Sol Henderson, number 10, Brian Lee, and number 11 is Edward Brown. The substitutes for Wythenshawe FC, number 12, Joshua Tinker, number 14, Luke Worth, number 15, Harrison Bickerton, number 16, Aaron Hevingham, and number 17 is Leandro Tanswell Vargas. Your referee this evening is Christopher Willen, and his assistant referees are Stuart Neen and Matty Shaw. Well, around 18 months ago, this fixture produced one of the most memorable nights in the Bowl's history. A wonder strike from Jack Kamada and 2 goals from Luke Murray saw FC Isle of Man overcome this Wythenshawe FC side, known then as Wythenshawe Amateurs, on their way to a promotion playoff final in Division 1 South, which they went off to eventually win. Fast forward to now, though, and FC Isle of Man, they've had a relatively indifferent start to the season. A very good run of 4 straight wins in August has been followed by a run of now 7 games without a win, including a narrow 1-0 defeat at Gig Lane against Bury in midweek. For Wythenshawe FC, promoted from Division 1 South last season, all has been looking rosy for the Manchester-based side. They currently sit 3rd in the table and 2nd in the form table as well. Only Earlham have had a better run over the last 6 games and the visitors to the Bowl here today. Wythenshawe FC, in 5 of their recent victories, in 3 of those, they've managed to score 5 goals or more. They've certainly been finding the back of the net plenty of times. But one stat that is in FC Isle of Man's favour, the only 2 times these teams have met at the Bowl, Wythenshawe have failed to score. So hopefully Wythenshawe FC will be looking to try and buck that trend today, and on paper at least it looks as though they will. But plenty to come under the floodlights here with the rain lashing down at 6 o'clock. FC Isle of Man versus Wythenshawe FC. Full live commentary here on Manx Radio DAB and AM 1368 from them. But in the meantime, Dave, back to you.
And we'll be hearing from Rob Pritchard at around 5 to 6 with live coverage. Now then, we might have an apology to make, Tony, because I've just got a message through saying Douglas High School Old Boys 3, Governors Athletic 2.
Well, the last time I heard it was St George's 2-0, but that would come in, and Governor, and we've got the goal scorers as well, haven't we? Craig got 2, Craig Stewart, and Callum Stewart got 1, so that would fit. But we haven't had anything from the clubs, either of them.
Yeah, so we'll make for confirmation on that. So anyway, we've got so much to come through, and we've still got to go down to rugby with Dave Christian, which we'll be doing very soon. Let's move on, and also hopefully you'll stick around to talk about FC Isle of Man before the game, Tony. But before that, Canada Life Combination 1, and did we get a score through for Ayr against Douglas Royal?
No,
we're still waiting on that. So Corinthians 3, Union Mills 5.
Good result that for Union Mills. I don't have the Corinthians goal scorers, but it was 3-2 to Union Mills at half time. Chris Langford got one, Sid Cowan, Oren Mitchell and Daniel Henderson got the other one. So that's 4 goal scorers I've got there for Union Mills. 3 points for them.
And 7-4 win for Laxey at Braddon.
Good result that one. And for Braddon, it was Jasper Duggan, Ryan Edwards, Connor Dempsey and Mikey Cannell. I haven't got the Laxey's goal scorers. Have you, Dave?
No.
Nope.
And then we'll move on to St Mary's, top of the table, beating them around 6-1.
Yeah, 3 in each half. And Jamie Skillen, good player he is. He got 3. Joe Canepa got 2. And Dylan Vick got the other one for St Mary's.
On to combination 2, Colby winning 4-0 at home to Douglas and District.
Yeah, great result. And my old mate, Ollie Edge, he got 2. Matty Wilson got 1. And Jaken Larder got the other one. And got a report in this game. I don't know which team it was. I think it might be Colby, to be honest with you. Jack Skillicorn, possible broken ankle. So if it is the case, Jack, speedy recovery, please. And hopefully we'll see you playing football very quickly.
Malo's social media is normally, I think, one of the best, but I'm still waiting to see something on X to come through. But I've got 2 scores for them, but no matter what they are, they both end up with a win, 5-3 and 6-3 to Maloo at Douglas Athletic.
And that's the only information
That's
I've
all
got,
we've
Dave.
got. But again, Maloo, a good win for them.
Yeah, it is a good win. And, it's one of those that they've done really well. They've got a second team back in for them, which is good, so it feeds the first team. Whether there was any sort of players that didn't play first team in the last game were eligible to come in, not too sure with not knowing the scorers. But no, that's a good result against an Athletic side who have only got 1 team and only a combination 1. And again, at the start of the season, people were saying why you only let them have a combination side only. Is trying to help them rebuild. And when you look at the league table in combination 2, Dave, Douglas Athletic are sort of well down there, so it's the right decision to do.
Yeah, they don't need to be getting turned over.
No,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Onken with a 5-2 win at Castletown.
Yeah, I haven't got Onken's goal scorers, but for Castletown, it was Cian Cottam and Owen Kamada. I think that's Jack Kamada's younger brother, so well done, Owen. And Castletown missing out on points there.
And the game between Foxtown and Jims, as we know, was postponed. And Governors Athletic against Old Boys.
I've got a score.
I'll just see whether I've got one on that. Doesn't look as if I have. Let's see. 5-1 and 4-0. Nope. Governors Athletic 1, Douglas High School Old Boys 5. There we go.
Any goal scorers?
No,
Nope.
no goal
Okay.
scorers, I'm afraid. So, all right, Tony, stick around.
Yep.
We've got plenty more to talk about. Hopefully, a little bit of women's football as well, because there was a great result last week. Not maybe for your guys or girls, but anyway. But we've got to move on to rugby. And Dave Christian with 4 important fixtures. 3 important and a friendly today. And we'll find out exactly what's going on from Dave Christian. Good evening, Dave.
Yeah, good evening, Dave. The big news, I guess, is Douglas picked up their first win of the season. They played 4, lost 4, picked up some losing bonus points along the way, but the win was proving a little bit elusive for them. But damp and soggy Portachee this afternoon, they finally picked one up. They beat Whitchurch 19-0. And, it wasn't all easy going for Douglas. Before the match, they lost Chris Bolland to illness, Rob Todd to injury, and coach Phil Kringle had to bring himself and James Good into the squad as cover. That proved to be a good choice because Kringle went over for one of Douglas's 2 tries. Skipper Blake Snell picked up the second, and Luke Highland added 2 penalties with Sam McCord kicking a third. The win takes Douglas off the bottom of the table, and their next game is a very winnable looking away game at Altrincham Kersal in 2 weeks' time. The English Club Championships of the leagues take a break next weekend to allow for county cup competitions. At Vagabonds, that's where I was this afternoon. It was wet and windy up there as well. They were too strong for Marple in counties 4, ADM, Lancashire and Cheshire, and they won 36-3. Paul Howarth kicked an early penalty for Marple to put them in front, but Vaggers hit back in the first half with 3 tries, 1 from Rhys McAllister, 1 from Mark Oldfield and 1 from Cal Donnell. Cam Finley converted 2 out of 3, and they led 19-3 at half-time. In the second half, Marple regrouped, and while the conditions stymied their attack a little bit, the defence was gritty, and Vaggers took half an hour before they could get across the whitewash again. And finally, it was Dan Bomwick who went in, got the bonus point try for Vagabonds. Four tries or more in a match gives you an extra point in rugby union. Cal Donnell then slid in for his second, and with Marple looking very, very tired with the final play of the game, Bomwick went in for his second, with Cam Finley adding the conversion. The win will take Vagabonds into second place in the table, but with only 2 games played, that could be a little bit misleading. And they have a week off as well next week. They are in Cheshire Plate action, but I haven't got details of that fixture just yet. I don't know if they'll be playing next week or not. And finally, this afternoon, Vagabonds ladies, they took out a first excursion into the Papa John Cup. This is a cup competition, 4 sides playing in the English League system. And they drew Sefton 2 leagues above them in the league structure. So it was no great surprise to see that they lost 66-0. Preparations weren't ideal. They didn't have very long to get off the boat and get down to Sefton. I've seen some photographs from their Instagram showing them doing some warm-up moves on the back of the boat. And they were missing players today as well, with a couple at a Vets Festival in Birmingham, charity thing run by the Wooden Spoon Society. So hopefully they'll be back to winning ways shortly. They had to start today's game with 13, and at one stage they were down to 11 after a couple of injuries. Sophie Henry made her debut in the backline. She normally plays number 8 or back row. She was playing at centre this afternoon. She got the nod from Sefton as Vagabond's player of the day, with honourable mentions in the forwards for Kyla Quayle and Malin Campbell. But no luck for Vagabonds ladies so far this season. That sees them, I think, out of the Papa John Women's Cup now, but they'll be able to concentrate on their Women's NC1 Northwest campaign. I've got no details from the friendly. That was at QE2 with Western Vikings, Southern Nomads and Ramsey all having a little trot out ahead of their Cheshire Plate fixtures next Saturday. But I'm sure I'll have some details later on tonight, which we'll get through to Manx Radio for the website over the weekend.
Manx Radio Sport. Manx Radio Sport.
Thanks to Dave Christian there for rugby. We now turn our attention to hockey. Ben Cunningham's been patiently sat with us. And just like the football, Ben, plenty of goals going in, starting at Backers, who put 9 past Ramsey.
Yeah, Backers put 9 past Ramsey. Commanding win for...
I don't know why I've not got you there, but you're on the wrong one.
We tried that one.
There we
go.
There we go.
We'll start again. Yeah, commanding win for Backers there. What they needed after their shock defeat last week. Callum Robb with 4, Jamie Brown with 1, Tom Lofen with 2, Elliot Reid with 2, and Ramsey's consolation was by Christina Cameen.
And Vikings put 8 past Harlequins.
Yeah, 8-1 win for Vikings A. Kim Carney with 3, Dal Drago with 1, Will Bryson with 1, Danny McNifintosh with 1, Sarah Blackman with 1, and Scott Mason with 1 for Vikings A. And then Harlequins' consolation was from Tom Hurd.
Also in the Mixed Premier League, Valkyries, a much tighter affair, beating Backers B 3-1.
Yeah, 3-1 win there for Valkyries A, and they keep the pressure on Vikings A. These two teams are level on points. It's just goal difference that separates the two. For Valkyries, it was Imogen Manning with 2 and John Grove Jackson. And then for Backers B, it was Tony Bentley Roberts.
Castan Celts winning 6-2 over Vikings B.
Yeah, a good win there for Castan Celts. Shea Christian with 4, Macklin Wilson with 1, and Evie Watson with 1. And then for Vikings B, it was Alex Andrews and Josh Dougal.
Mixed Division 1, Castletown Southerners 4-1 winners over the Camags.
Yeah, 4-1 win over their lower team in this league. Helena Allen with 1, Andy Winstanley with 1, Abby Sutterbury with 1, and Corbin Stewart with 1. And then Camag's goal scorer was Eden McCullum.
And 6 apiece down at QE2 in Mixed Division 1 between Valkyries C and Backers C.
And before I say the scorers, I'm going to read the report I've got here. Okay. Whoa. What a game. Manic, out of control, yet super great game of Manx hockey in absolutely horrible weather. Valkyries were 3-0 up in 6 minutes. Half time, it was 4-2 to Valkyries. Second half, Backers youngsters came out in full force and got it back to 6-6. What an absolute game. Umpiring was strong. The weather was horrible, but we all had a great game. Credit to the umpires for sticking it out, and absolutely hats off to everyone that's played today.
Well done.
Chris Thomas with 4, Chris Cadwell with 1, and Steph Cottier for Valkyries. And then for Backers C, it was Craig Lees with 2, Alex Stewart with 2, Sienna Millwall, and Nick Wilson.
And Viking C against Valkyries B was the late result.
And I have that score, and it was a 4-2 win for Valkyries B. Chris Adams with 1, Ethan Adams with 2, Neil Jacobs with 1 for Valkyries, and then for Viking C it was Charlie Bell and Alex Andrew.
Let's move on to Mixed Division 2, and the Vikings D seeing off Castletown Cushags 4-0.
Yeah, 4-0 win for Vikings D, and they keep on their commanding streak at the minute in this league. Ben Dougal with 2 and Ash Osborne with 2.
And a big win for Ramsey Ravens, 7-0 over Vikings E.
Yeah, this was the game I umpired. It was horrible up at Ramsey today.
You're talking about the conditions or the play?
Oh no, the pitch. The conditions were horrible. Yeah, they were horrible today. Lewis Neal with 3, Caitlin Burnett with 1, Kyle Kane with 1, Elise McCurran, I think it is, sorry if I've pronounced that wrong, with 1, and Becky Weeman with 1.
And Bacchus Colts against Valkyries D, a very tight affair, 3-2 to the Colts.
Yeah, I had this down to be a very close game, just one goal between the two of them, and it did come that way. Mike Fowles with both goals for Valkyries D, and then for Bacchus Colts it was George Lees, Matt Greenback, and Alina Wiseman.
Let's move on to Mixed Division 3 and another Castletown derby, Cosney beating Carrick 2-1.
Yeah, great game, and I always love Castletown derbies because they're always close and they're always good games. Steve Jackson and Finn Sampson with goals for Cosney, and then for Carrick it was Paul Callister.
Harlequin C 1, Backers D 1.
Yeah, close game, end to end, could have gone either way. Harlequins did have the chance to take the win with a penalty flick, and it was put over the bar, so a point apiece, and it was Christian Davis for Backers D, and then Ben Cunningham for Harlequin C.
Oh, right, I've heard of him. Where Harlequin C failed, Harlequins B didn't. They managed to win 4-0 against Ramsey Rookies.
Yeah, 4-0 win, and that'll put Harlequins B now 3 points clear at the top of the league. Callum Crellin with 2, Corey Corkill with 1, and Lucy Passy with 1.
And on to the mixed under-15s, Backers A 3, Valkyries 1.
Yeah, Cal Joyce with 1, and Grace Evans with 2 for Backers A, and then for Valkyries it was Harry Lewis.
And in the Ramsey Rogues and Rascals, 4-3 winners over Vikings.
And that was Valentino Crossgrave. I think that was Valentino Crossgrave got 2. I'll just double check that. Toby Bashford and Charlie Dummers for Ramsey Rogues and Rascals. And for Vikings, it was Theo Hampton, Harry Stewart, and Amelia Krukel.
Okay, and we'll end on the 2 results that we didn't have at the start of the show, starting with Castletown, Sabres against Sharks.
And the Sabres have overcome the Sharks, 6-1 win there. Charlie Vaughan with 3, and Christopher Crompton Harvey with 3. And then for Castletown Shark, it was Casper Grounds.
And finally, Backers B against Harlequins.
Backers B 4, Harlequins 5.
Oof.
What a game. The report I've got is the keeper for Harlequins made a double save in the last minute, so it sounded a really good, entertaining game there. For Backers B, it was Ryan Cartwright with 2 and Ollie Christian with 2. And then for Harlequins, it was Caleb Blakemore, Ollie Barber, Killian Dowling with 2, and Addison Heaton with 1.
Cheers, Ben.
Manx Radio Sport.
In 5 minutes' time, we'll be heading down to the Bowl and joining Rob Pritchard for tonight's game between FC Isle of Man and Wythenshawe. But we're going to bring Tony Mepham back into the programme and just talk a little bit about FC Isle of Man, Tony, because have the wheels come off of late?
Not really. I think the performances have been good. They just haven't had a bit of luck. I know it's an easy word to use, but no, I think they've really chipped away. Some of the players have stepped up. A couple have lost a little bit of form. And I think Paul's seen that and addressed it and shuffling the packs a little bit. But it's no panic. I know it's 12 games into it, but they've got a good run of home fixtures coming up shortly, Dave. I think they're obviously home today, and then they're away for a couple, and then they're home for quite a bit. And I think that's one thing I've found hard to digest, is why the fixtures are, you would have thought they'd pretty well be home and away, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
So there's no sort of real momentum, but hopefully good crowd down there tonight, a good game, and we can get set up for a good run.
Because a few weeks ago we were whispering it that they could be on for promotion, but that now looks more like mid-table.
Yeah, it was, and that midweek game, if they'd won it, I can't remember who it was against now, they would have gone second. But since then, they've sort of found it hard.
Fallen away.
Bury second in the league, and they only lost 1-0 to them midweek. And good to see good support going over from Alaman, and also good to see Bury midweek game, 3,000 people. Yeah, they get 3,000 plus at weekends, but in the week, from what I've seen, they haven't. So they came out to watch the Manx boys play.
Yeah.
From what I heard, they played really well, but just didn't get the result that they deserved.
We've got 3 minutes before we head down there. Is it possibly the fact that FC Isle of Man have arguably the biggest squad in the league, because they've got so many players to choose from? Does that actually make it a little bit harder, perhaps, for Paul Jones to decide on the best team? The fact that he's got so many to pick from, whereas, I say, all the other clubs, they'll have a squad of around 20 players, but he can go and pull players from all different clubs around the island.
Yeah, I think then he's got to look at the best players. Yeah, he's got all those clubs.
But there are so many to choose from.
There is, but it's the same scenario that when you look at across the teams that are playing in the North West Counties Premier League, they're picking from leagues who have got, I'm guessing here, 100 teams in, as where they're picking really from a league of sort of 13 in the Premier League, and you just look at it and you think it's really hard for them. But the problem is, Dave, is midweek games, because if it's a Tuesday night game, they go, say, Tuesday afternoon, and then they don't get back until early Wednesday morning. So he's got to have strong numbers. Injuries, as we saw last year, devastation with top players coming out of it. So it's a tricky one, but the players that don't get to play for FC Isle of Man can dip in and play for their clubs.
Okay, I'm going to put a last minute cross in here. How long can FC Isle of Man survive just carrying on as they are, if they are just going to be a mid-table type club?
It's learn. They've just got to keep learning. And it's like last year, the costs aren't going to change. The costs are going to get more. So it's learning the process, get good sponsors in to support them. I think it's 2 leagues they've got to get out of this league and then the following league before they stop paying. So that's a big decision, but they always knew that. And, they've changed the board round structure, and that's brought sort of more money in, more new sponsors in. But tough times, Dave, right the way across the board. We were talking about it before at club level. FC Isle of Man, I would have sleepless nights being involved there, trying to get that money together to get the teams not over. And what people don't understand is when the teams come to visit the Isle of Man, FC Isle of Man had to pay that. And they say, well, why is that? That's not fair.
Well, it wouldn't be fair on the other way around, but
that was the agreement to allow them in the league, was that they had to fund it until they get to a certain league. But they're doing well. The boys are all switched on, and we just need a little bit more attendance in there to boost the coffers up and just take the pressure off them financially.
Okay, that wraps up Saturday Sport Classified. Thank you, Tony Mepham.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you, Dave Christian. Thank you, Ben Cunningham. We are now going to